The James Show Podcast.
On a Friday, I like to do fun stuff anytime I can squeeze it in, and anytime I can squeeze in good old Hank Johnson, it's an even better Friday. I just love this guy so much for the content he has given us. And if you're not familiar with the name Hank Johnson, he is what has been recognized by the James Show as the dumbest man in Congress, and that stems from a comment he made back in 2010. Gosh, we're getting old, aren't we? Where in a congressional hearing on C-SPAN in front of God and everybody, he was concerned with telling a Navy admiral that Guam might capsize. The island
my fear is that the whole island will become so overly populated that it will tip over and capsize.
Oh, my God, I just love that. That's one of the best sound bites of all time. Because not just for the comedic effect, but to also highlight the fact that he's been in Congress since, I guess he started in 2008, 2007, somewhere around there. But needless to say, he's been reelected 7 times since saying something that dumb. In fact, just a few months after he said that, he got reelected. And so he is just a prime example of you can just be as dumb as your left shoe. But if you're an incumbent in Congress and you're in good standing with the party, air quotes, TM, whatever you want to put next to it, then you can just sit there and have a nice, cushy life. The voters don't care how dumb you are. They perceive you're on their team, and they can just keep you in. All you got to do is vote the right way, and the party machine can keep you going. What you probably don't know about Hank Johnson's seat is the person who was previously there. Remember Cynthia McKinney? Oh, man, wasn't she great? She was just a fount of fantastic audio bites for the talk radio world. And I thought I was going to miss her when she was gone. But I really do feel like there's a God sometimes when you replace someone she was a person like the Tootsie Roll commercial, whatever it is, I think I see becomes a Tootsie Roll to me. She was one of the people that whatever it is she thinks she sees becomes racism to her. Everything that happened to her was because of racism. And it's kind of annoying at first, and then it easily kind of melds into comedy. And like the lack of self-awareness of how ridiculous these people sound, I think is the best part. You know, the Dunning-Kruger effect. When you're ignorant, you don't know how dumb you sound to people who aren't. When you're unintelligent, you don't know when you sound dumb to people who are intelligent. In fact, you may think you're saying something intelligent, but for the people who really are, firing on all cylinders in their head, you have no idea how crazy you sound. So not only did Hank Johnson, he thought he was dropping a spade card on there, and that's not a racial reference. I'm talking about the game of spades. He was putting the ace of spades on the hand there, and he was really just clowning himself. He thought he was making a good point. He thought he was pulling a checkmate on a Navy admiral. Oh yeah, you didn't think about that, did you? So here he is again, same total lack of self-awareness. He puts out a song just for you on his X feed, Twitter, whatever we're calling it these days. He's sitting there with the guitar, and he does a rendition of Hey Joe from Jimi Hendrix, except he's changed some of the words where it's Hey Trump. First recognition here is I don't expect him to be a good guitar player. I'm not expecting him to do Van Halen's Eruption. He is just strumming with chords, but he could at least tune his guitar. Now, I'm not playing this because I'm punishing you. I'm playing this for the comedic value. This is going to be a minute and a half that you'll never get, almost 2 minutes that you'll never get back in your life. But I promise it's worth it because Hank Johnson wants you to hear this song. He thinks this helps. He thinks this makes people, look at the video and be like, yeah, that's the team I'm on. Sure do love supporting these guys. This guy has to lose so much support for the Democrats. Like what a weight around their neck this guy is. But here's Hank Johnson's Trump song.
I'm compelled with a new guitar and with some thoughts about that old song, Hey Joe, to give some commentary on where we are now.
Oh, please do.
Hey, Trump, where you going with that gun in your hand? Where you going with that gun in your hand? I'm going down the street and shoot down democracy.
Democracy?
You know I want to be a king someday.
Yeah. That's why he already stepped down. That's hilarious.
I'm going down and shoot democracy down. You know I want to be the king someday.
Hold on, there's still 30 more seconds to this genius.
Hey, Donald Trump. We won't let you take our democracy down. Take it down to the ground. You take our democracy down, burn it down to the ground.
Yes.
That's it, John.
Thank you, Hank. More, please. Put out a song a week. I'll do a whole segment for you. Every Friday, we'll do the next big hit from Congressman Hank Johnson, the man who thought Guam could tip over. Who is the anti-democracy people? Who are these people? Is anyone, raise your hand if you want us to stop voting on our elected leaders, because I don't think there's one person in office that holds that position, and I don't think there's really a decent conglomerate of voters. Who are y'all talking to? Who are the Nazis? Who are the fascists? No one is. They just create these like little fantasy men. Like, what are y'all going to do this weekend? You going to go in the forest and look for Bigfoot? You going to go snipe hunting? Is that what you're going to go do? God, I love that guy. I hope he gets reelected just until he dies in office. That's fantastic. Put out more songs, please. Anti-ICE protesters in Portland were attacking a federal building. Were attacking federal agents. They were using fireworks. There were other things that caught on fire. There was definitely some weapons that were used. You know, it wasn't just fisticuffs. And so how many times do American government institutions, buildings, law officers have to be attacked by a group before they're considered a terror group, Raven?
That answer should be zero, James.
Or
and it's
one.
really sad that it's not.
One.
This is where we are. These people are feeling like anything you believe in, what you stand for, entitles you to harm, injure, or maim another person, law enforcement or otherwise. I mean, I'm watching these people are standing in front of cars that are moving. They are blocking traffic. They are preventing ambulances from going to the hospital. Whatever you're trying to accomplish is not, it's being lost, but it should be zero. This should be zero tolerance. Nobody should have to sign up for this kind of danger just to do their job. Well,
we've seen them do that because, you know, a lot of people think, well, terror groups, you got to be talking about like Hamas and Hezbollah and ISIS and groups like that, the Taliban maybe, but, you know, this is just some protesters that kind of get out of hand every once in a while. No. The Proud Boys were considered a terror group and everyone was okay with considering them terrorists, throwing them in jail. Like the leader was Enrique Tarrio. He wasn't even in D.C. on January 6th, but because he's associated with the Proud Boys, and it was deemed a terror group, he got rolled up and sent to jail for not even being there on January 6th. So I think turnabout's fair play.
Well, it absolutely is. And it just goes to show you the scathing double standard we have, that people, they set cars on fire. They were looting. You know, did you see what was happening in L.A.? But I didn't hear the word insurrection that came out of Gavin, mouth or anything like that. It's just unbelievable to me how they can turn a blind eye to it. And then if it was a conservative, they'd be put under the jail. People are jumping on cars. They're lighting cars on fire. They are shutting down traffic on major freeways, and not a peep from the left. They're talking about no kings. And I mean, that to me, no kings. Why don't you take that crap back to the UK? They actually have a king there. And you're here because if there was really a king here, you wouldn't be allowed to protest. All of you guys would be in jail. So it's just, it's ridiculous that this narrative that they keep spewing, and all they do is waste time, money, and endanger law enforcement.
Well, Raven Harrison, I think this is an important distinction, not just, to be fair, but because once they get labeled as a terrorist group, especially if the government recognizes them as an official terrorist group, then anyone who is organizing or funding these activities is now a criminal, and I think justly so.
Well, I agree. But again, the funding, we know who's funding a lot of this. I actually posted this for people who want to see it on my page. I mean, would it surprise you if I told you the Red Cross, Planned Parenthood, Soros are paying for this? That this is where the money is coming from? You know, we should be having these people out there yesterday. That's where why is the Red Cross funding this? No Kings protest. I mean, this is, again, people have to start peeling the layers, but I'll do it for everybody and just go, this is, again, how deep and widespread the corruption. George Soros's son just got married. You know, so it was like a truly a match made in hell of these two. And why didn't we pick him up there? Why didn't we pick them up? That would have been one swoop out for Homan to pick up all of these enemies of America right there at that lavender marriage and pick them up and cart them straight to jail.
Oh, I totally agree. But also, you know, that means the people who donate to this, you're funding a terrorist organization, you know, and so
yes,
it's easy to recognize, like the Holy Land Foundation here and Garland got in trouble for funding terrorist organizations, and everyone agreed, well, throw them under the bus. They shouldn't exist. Bro, anti-ICE protesters, Antifa, Indivisible, 5051, all of these organizations, same thing. They're in the same category.
And Planned Parenthood and Red Cross. And all of these ones who have jumped in for this, it doesn't matter what section or what they think, you can't partially fund it. So you're either part of this problem or you're part of the solution. And it's just important that Americans know that. That's really important to know, is who thinks that it's worth it to put cinder blocks on every corner so that protesters can throw them at police officer and ICE agents. And at the end of the day, who are they protecting, James? They're protecting people who are in this country illegally. Well, look, they deported this mother and they grabbed her off the street. Was she illegal when she was on the street? You guys keep missing the point. This is exactly what we voted for. Come in the legal way. Stop making that dangerous journey. Stop paying the cartels. Stop getting reffed up and being indebted to the cartels to come here and sponge off of Americans. You know, if you are going to come here and contribute and wave our flag, but how dare you sit there and light cars on fire and wave the Mexican flag, but you don't want to go back there?
I love it. This is Raven Harrison. You can find ravenharrison.com has more info on not just her work, but also her run for Congress. So, Raven, you're kind of spilling into something that cracks me up, is when the people pretend like this isn't what you voted for. It's like, well, he said he was going to deport criminals, but now he's going to actually deport hardworking people who are just working, they pick your crops and they make your beds at the hotels and they cook your food in the kitchen. And is this what you voted for? Well, the answer is yes.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, because we voted for able-bodied people to go to work. That's what it's supposed to. And if these companies are saying we can't function, they're telling American people that we have built our company charging you off of illegal labor. It's not supposed to be that way. And that garbage of no American will do this job, they haven't even had the option. So now let's put the able-bodied people to work. Let's get our economy back. This is a drain on our economy. It's a drain on our health care. It's a drain on our schools. So we have got to have people come back, and we are the only country who takes flack for protecting our borders and saying there's a right way to come in.
Yeah, I also like the idea that they act surprised. You don't support this, do you? Yes. And I think I understand, because I think they thought we were lying to them when we're not voting for Trump because we support a Nazi or support a terrorist. We're just concerned about the border. I think they really think we're Nazis and we were just lying about border enforcement.
They don't, but they just like to vote with their feelings, James. And unfortunately, we can't be the piggyback of the world. We can't solve every single person on the planet's problems, and we can't throw money at it. And people need to understand that. There are Americans here who are unable to put food on the table. There are Americans here who are separated. If you commit a crime, James, I guarantee you they don't give a flying spit about you being separated from your family. So we have to stop that fluffy bunny argument and get back to real adulting.
I'm glad you said flying spit there. You had Garrett hovering over the dump button, but it worked out fine.
Tell Garrett I got this, because he can see me now. So I'm not going to do it to him.
All right, this is the great Raven Harrison. How's your run for Congress going?
It's going great, and we appreciate it. We appreciate the Patriots. We're going to get it done.
All right, Raven Harris, ravenharrison.com. It just forwards to Raven Harrison for Congress.com for now. And best of luck on your run.
Thanks, James.
There's a new pastime from some people in elected office who happen to be on Team Blue. And that's where you go try and look, I just want to ask some questions. And you act all indignant when people won't let you just barge into whatever speech they're giving or whatever event you're holding or whatever press conference is happening or whatever the security detail or protocol or scheduling issues are. No, you just show up and you try and butt your head into where it doesn't belong without following the regular rules. And then you act like some kind of martyr. Well, I was just trying to do the right thing and protect the Constitution and stop kings. And, this new wave started at the Delaney Hall ICE detention facility in New Jersey. And that was the original salvo where the mayor of Newark and Representative McIver and Bob Menendez, the corrupt guy, his son, and who was the other one? Bowden? I don't even remember. But McIver was the one that got charges thrown at her, but they didn't really follow up with it. And I was saying at the time, you have to charge this woman. You have to bring her to trial. You have to punish her. You have to put her in jail or give her a fine. Or ideally, she should have been kicked out of Congress immediately, or at least there should have been a vote on kicking her out of Congress. And I even said, look, I have 4 kids. This is how it works with kiddos too. You have to stop this now, or it's going to continue. In fact, you have to stop this now and make a big show of it, or it's going to continue and get worse. So because we went soft on Representative McIver out of New Jersey, then we saw this repeated. You saw Jaya Pell and a couple other ladies from Congress try and go into a ICE detention facility in the Tacoma area. You saw them flying to El Salvador. And then, what was it, last week? The new senator from California, Padilla, tried to do the same thing. He tried to bum rush and just introduce himself into a Kristi Noem press conference or press event. Instead of floating her an email or texting her chief of staff or, my people will talk to your people and maybe we can sit down and ask some questions, he just thought he'd walk up through the security detail and just get on stage and ask her some questions. No, sir. So they grabbed him and he kept resisting. So they put him on the ground. They handcuffed him. And now he's a martyr. Now he gets to make all the rounds on all the TV shows and all the weekend shows and give all these statements and have press conferences. And again, no negative consequences are visited upon him, only positive consequences. So this is not going to stop. They have a mayor's election that's going on in New York City right now.
New York City!
And the New York City comptroller, his name's Brad Lander. He's one of the candidates for mayor of New York City, along with Anthony Weiner and Andrew Cuomo. Just, could y'all find 3 worse candidates? Because we know Cuomo and Weiner are seriously compromised and a little bit creepy, but apparently this Brad Lander guy is right up there with the creepiness factor too, because he's like, hey, if a congressman can do it, if a mayor of Newark can do it, if a senator can do it, then what about a good old city comptroller, the biggest city in America? So this is Brad Lander getting himself arrested by ICE 3 days ago.
You don't have to. I'm not obstructing. I'm standing right here in the hallway. I asked to see the judicial warrant.
You're arresting the
By asking for a judicial warrant? You don't have the authority to arrest U.S. citizens. Ask me for a judicial warrant.
We go too. Sorry. No way. Abstain.
This is like how my kids talk to each other. What? I'm not doing anything. I'm just standing here. And then you say, get out of her room. Get out of your sister's room. I'm not in her room. But he's standing in the doorway, so technically he's not in her room. But you're bothering her. You're doing it on purpose. And you're pretending like, what? I'm not doing anything to her. She wants you to leave and you're standing in her doorway. You don't have the right to kick me out of the hallway. You know what you're doing. We all know what you're doing. You're not some crusader of justice. And we know because our memories go longer than 5 seconds. We're not a goldfish like most of the media and half of our neighbors. We know this is for show. We know this isn't real. We know this isn't. I just have a legitimate concern about due process rights. No, you don't. Where was your concern about due process and constitutional rights during COVID? Were you getting yourself arrested trying to get into the press conference or press availabilities of elected officials then, or appointed officials? I guess Kristi Noem, appointed official. Well, were you getting yourself arrested when we were getting kicked out of our jobs, when our kids are being shut out from our schools, when they prevented you from going to church? Did Brad Lander get himself arrested and detained fighting for the rights of you to not have your grandmother die alone without her family around her? What about going to her funeral? What about when you weren't allowed to go to your mom's funeral while they had a 60,000 person procession for George Floyd's funeral in 2 different cities? No, I don't believe that I'm just trying to ask some questions. You don't have the right to detain an American citizen just for asking questions. Just for a judicial... Shut up. You people are all lying. You are not heroic crusaders of justice. We went through COVID together, and you were the ones that couldn't kick us out of our jobs fast enough. You're the ones who couldn't put a mask on our children to get on an airplane fast enough. You couldn't lock the doors to my front church fast enough, could you? Crusaders of justice, my backside. You lying punks. Do they ever get themselves arrested or detained fighting for Americans? Did they ever get themselves arrested or detained fighting for you? When you lost your job or your husband lost his job, when you had to make the choice, geez, do I get this experimental shot that I don't want to get, or do I keep my job? When Joe Biden was trying to mandate that all companies with more than 100 employees have to have a vaccine mandate, where were no due process there? Did anybody go to court for that? Did you get your day in court? Or were these new king-like mandates for the No Kings people forced down your throat without any constitutional considerations? No, you people are lying. It's easy to disprove. It's all performative. And these people need to start being thrown under the bus. This isn't just some goobers who are like, oh, we're just trying to ask some questions and now I'm just being victimized by literally Hitler. No, you lying little punks that are doing this all for show, and you know you're not going to be punished because you're not oppressed. You're in the privileged class. You're an elected official and a person in a position of power on Team Blue. So all the media is going to be on your side. All the deep state's going to be on your side. The judicial system and whatever hyper blue bubble that you live in is going to have your back. My next guest, Stephen Williford's coming back on from Gun Owners of America, a real gun rights lobby group. And what is going on? Well, there's all kinds of gun rights legislation that's in the mix, in the sausage machine in D.C., making zero headlines. Fill us in, but bring some of this stuff above the radar for us, Stephen.
Well, I'm hoping it's making zero headlines, and we'll just bring it on through and restore freedom with suppressors and with short barrel rifles, shotguns, and stuff, taking them off the NFA list and making them legal for anyone just to walk in and buy them and walk right out. How great is that? Well, restoring gun rights.
It's amazing, and it is kind of an advantage that it is flying under the radar because, you know, there will probably be a large outcry in the media against it. But play devil's advocate for me, Stephen, because I never understood this. Why did they make short-barreled rifles illegal to begin with? I mean, I've heard, because, you know, you could conceal it easier, but pistols are still legal, so it makes no sense to me, Stephen.
Well, so you got to go back to 1934 when the original bill, the NFA was passed, National Firearms. It was passed.
Yeah, we know that act. It's terrible. Absolutely terrible.
It was passed for a specific purpose. Did you know that it was passed to get Al Capone? It was right after the Valentine's Day massacre. And so Thompson machine guns had a 10.5-inch barrel at the time. And they wanted, and plus short barrel shotguns and stuff were used by Al Capone. And they couldn't find any other reason to get Al Capone. What do you know about how they finally got Al Capone?
Taxes.
Tax evasion. You know what tax he evaded?
The gun tax.
The NFA tax.
That's amazing. Okay, so
they made it where every gun in his possession, every Tommy gun that was full automatic that had a short barrel, that's 2 taxes on one gun. And every suppressor, every short barreled shotgun and stuff carried a $200 tax per item. And at the time, $200 was about the equivalent to $4,300 nowadays. And so Al Capone was like, I'm not paying that tax. And they passed that tax and saddled us with unconstitutional restrictions on our Second Amendment just to get one man. And I'm not a fan of Al Capone, and I'm not trying to defend him. I think he needed to spend the rest of his life in jail for the crimes that he committed. But I will say that you don't tread on our Constitution to get one man off the streets. And what else do you know about? He had syphilis when they arrested him. They didn't treat it, and they kept him in jail until he was, syphilis had taken his mind away, and then they released him, which today they'd be screaming about, torture and stuff and not giving him the everything he needed. But again, I digress because I don't mean to try to support Al Capone. But again, our Congress taxed us. And make no mistake, they didn't make anything illegal because they could not. They realized that it was treading on our Second Amendment, and they couldn't make these things illegal. So they taxed them where only rich people could afford them. And that tax had stayed the same since 1934. And it stayed unconstitutional since 1934. So Gun Owners of America, please go to gunowners.org, sign up, be part of it. We are the ones that have been leading this fight, and it looks like we're going to win. They're hoping to get it to the president's desk by 4th of July so he can sign it with a big, beautiful bill in the 4th of July.
That's such good news. In many ways, we've seen gun rights expand dramatically over the last 30 years, starting with concealed carry and then constitutional carry. Now we're repealing some of these other just completely petty, trifling regulations here. I wonder if we'll ever get to the big dog and get rid of the background checks and the gun registration database and all that.
Well, there's not supposed to. That is already proven to be unconstitutional, a gun registration. And Gun Owners of America has filed against that also, the gun registration. We are looking to, and people say, oh, really, you don't want to do a background check?
Yes.
They say 73% of background checks that get flagged are flagged for wrong reasons. They're false flags. And so, yes, and criminals are going to get guns no matter what you do. All that is doing is it's slowing up process for law-abiding citizens. And I forget who said it, but it was said once, a right delayed is a right denied.
Amen. Oh, well, Stephen Williford, Gun Owners of America, you're a great guest, but please let me know when you need some media help, some attention paid to the next battle for gun rights, because I would like to help you get rid of the registration and the background checks and the database and all that too.
We are going to focus on this first, and then our next focus will happen real shortly, and that's national reciprocity.
Ooh, that's a good one. Hey, we just got to go. I got to do a news update. But Steve Williford, good talk. I wish you the best. You got a great organization there. Gunowners.org is the Gun Owners of America website. Thank you, sir.
The James Show Podcast.